Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother and Dan talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And we don't have a guest on today, but we do finally have a bit of news stories. So we've got a few bits to go through before we wrap up um, all of week 10. All 11 games will go through, and Swindon had a three-game weekend as well. So we were at all three games. And they were quite local as well, which helped. But yeah, shall we crack into it, Charlie? Dan, you doing all right?
I'm all good.
Nice one. Right, the first news story, and we're going to go with what we just spoke about. The whole Seahawks releasing a statement about basically people not being family friendly at ice hockey. And we've always had the stance of that ice hockey has become this family friendly sport, which is trying to separate itself from the football kind of side and the not hooliganism, but the swearing and all of that kind of hatred towards the opposition. Whereas I think ice hockey is more respect. Yes, there's fighting in the game, but there's always respect within it. And when there isn't respect, they are punished. And just like I think that should be the same with the fans, Dan, we'll come to you first. Obviously, there was a bit of stuff going on in Hull, a few silly Hull fans, and it's annoying because the majority of these fans in Hull are actually really nice fans. They've grown their fan base a lot, but there's always the few Muppets who kind of let it down. And it sounds like on Sunday, obviously, Hull have had a few tough results. They lost again, and it just went over the top a bit. And there was a few hand gestures and swearing. And we've always hated abusive language and um, stuff at hockey. We've never been a fan of it. We've never done it ourselves. Dan, yeah, what was your take on it all?
Yeah, I think, like you say, obviously people do get into it, and obviously it's a sport that you can get behind it when you're watching, and it gets you sort of excited as well and sort of riled up, and you can get sort of caught in the moment. Um, yeah, I think it's just one of those things like you just don't really want to carry on, and it's the reason why these teams are getting on it straight away because it does make a bad name for their club and sort of their fan base. And like you say, they have grown their fan base a lot, and it's actually we've always been welcomed when we've gone up there. Everyone's always been really nice, and for all we know, that guy could have been like his first time. He might not have been there like a regular and stuff like that. So it's just a shame that that one night is sort of all escalated to this, just from that one guy. And I think I think it's sort of just the event sort of got everyone a bit riled up. I think on the ice as well, it didn't help. And I think they just had to put it behind them now and just sort of it's a new weekend, coming weekend now, and they just need to sort of forget about it.
I think, Charlie, we've always been fans of hockey who have never ever got into the swearing and arguing and over the top abuse and actually abusing players on themselves. Well, just we've never done that at all, and I don't think hockey is for that. We've always seen it as a family sport, which there's some mates who go there as well who drink and have a good time, but there is a lot more families come into the games now, isn't there? And whether people like it or not, whether the old school fans like it or not, it is turning a lot more to families and friends come into it, and there's a lot more younger ones coming as well. So stuff like that isn't great at a hockey game in this day and age. Even if they had it back then, back in the day when it was a drinking sport, it's progressed just like everything in life.
Yeah, I think there's a level of making it a home atmosphere. I'm all for shouting at the goalie and all that chirping and stuff like that. But yeah, just take the swearing, or obviously we saw the hand gestures which were getting shown on the video. I'd rather it be just a wave goodbye, wave them off the ice. I'm not against stuff like that. I'm not against fans adding to the home hostile. I think me and Dan talked about it at Basingstoke. It was a horrible place to come to because the fans would get involved. But it's when it becomes sweary and rude, it's not right. But I think people have got to find that balance. There is obviously making it a hostile environment and waving players off the ice and shouting the goalie's name when he may not be having a good game. Them things are all right. That makes it fun. But you've got to learn where the limit is. And I think to be honest, I think Hull probably had higher expectations than where they are right now. And the season hasn't exactly gone their way. And I think that's two home losses on the bounce, which they're not really used to. And emotions are high. And we've seen that on the ice, on the players and stuff like that. And I think that may have come across to the fans. So hopefully they can learn from the mistakes. We don't want anyone getting booted out of hockey who's been watching a while. And yeah, I think Hull fans will learn. And but I don't want Hull to become a quiet place. I still want to go to Hull and be and hear the fans shouting. And yeah, I enjoy going to Hull because of the atmosphere. I think they do have a fun atmosphere there. But I think it's about finding that right balance where it doesn't get rude.
Yeah, no, I agree. You need to stop clanking with whatever you're playing with though, because it's really loud. Um, but yeah, no, I agree with what you said, and we're going there Sunday. I don't know actually if you're going, Charlie, but
I'm not going
Swindon are
there.
playing on there Sunday, and I'll be able to see what it's like. But hopefully, all of that will be cut out now. And fair play to Hull for putting out the statement. But another bit of news from Hull is that they've made a signing, and they have signed Tommy Spraggan. Now he isn't a new face to the National League. We've seen him before, Dan, play a bit with the Leeds Knights, but he's only 19 years old. He was playing it for Billingham this season, who are obviously at playoffs, so we did see him at playoffs as well last year. Really good talent, isn't he, Dan? And I think Hull needed a change up. Obviously, we've talked about how they've got Hayward missing. They haven't got Hodgkinson yet. They have that Deck Barmer size hole, which you're never going to be able to fill. But I think they're bringing Tommy Spraggan in is a step in the right direction to try and amend that defense and kind of it's a wake up call for the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, 100%. You could sort of feel there was going to be some sort of move coming, with like the way the past few weekends have gone. And yeah, I can see obviously why they've gone with this signing because their D has been struggling, and I think they're trying to avoid the problem that they got into last year, where they just didn't have enough D, and they would just end up losing games because they had two D men that were literally playing all the minutes and they just couldn't keep up. It's another good signing as well for Spraggan because he's produced points for the past 3 years in the National One League, and I think he's just trying to find that sort of spot for him to open up to go into the national. And obviously, he's still really young, 19 years old. He seems to be getting a lot of assists. Seems to be a good little puck moving D man. And I think if he can find his spot in a team in the National League, I think that could be a big year for him. And I think he's got a lot to show. And I think he's going to take it in open arms, this opportunity, and he's just going to go for it with Hull.
Charlie, you had a little fact. I actually think I know what this is going to be, but I'll let you say it. Go on.
Tommy Spragham, was born on the exact same day as me.
That's what I
Um,
knew. I just saw it just
I
then.
thought that's quite cool. He's the exact same age as me, and he's born on the 26th of January, which is my birthday. So I'm rooting for Tommy. I've got a new guy. I've got he's gonna be my ones to watch for whoever he signs for in the National League next year.
Right, not
Because
this weekend. Um, not
yeah,
rooting for him on Sunday. No, I'm joking, but no,
oh,
it's
well, I hope Tommy does well because he's repping the 26th of January 2005ers. So yeah, big up Tommy Sprague. What a player! I've
yeah.
only watched him once, and he won a cup, so can't be. Oh no, he lost that game. Oh.
They didn't win the cup, but he won the cups with Leeds. So
Yeah,
um, he's had his dip in the national. I think, as you said, Dan, he's still young. He's been getting over a point per game, or point per game in the National League One, as a D man, and we've seen that with Tyler Nixon, and he's fitting very well with the Romford Raiders. So this could be the smoke which Hull need. And I think he's playing this weekend, I believe. So his first game will be against Swindon. So it'll be interesting to see like the minutes he gets, what lines they'll play, because they're still without Hayward and Hodgkinson, I believe, is playing. Is he,
I
or
think
is
he's
he?
on a full time now. I think he's signed. So
Oh, it might be the 30th of November. I'm not sure. So he might not be here this
I
week.
thought he was playing. Is he not playing this weekend?
I
I
don't.
thought he was meant to be there last weekend, but I don't
That's
know.
what I
I
thought.
think it's sort of tough with his job, and I think he's just sort of trying to find time.
Okay. Well, they'll have him at some point. I know that, and it might be this weekend. The National League Cup semi-final dates have been announced. All four of them are in December. They are midweek games. The Romford Raiders against the Milton Keynes Lightning. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention. So Leeds pick Sheffield as we thought they would, Charlie. Obviously, with travel in a midweek, and also they've been quite good against Sheffield so far this season, which leaves Romford Milton Keynes. The first leg is on Wednesday, the 4th of December, and that is in Romford. So we'll definitely be, well, I'm definitely going to go to that, and you guys are going to see if you can go to that as well. And then the second leg will be in Milton Keynes, obviously them having the home advantage on the 12th of December on a Thursday. But this is interesting. So Leeds have chosen to have the home leg first, and then they will have the away leg in Sheffield second. Now, actually, Dan, if you look at it, the last couple years, they've had the cup semi-finals. They've lost both of them, and they've had the home leg second. So they're switching it up again this year. So maybe this could be the switch that they need.
Yeah, I reckon it's sort of mind games now. I reckon they're sort of getting it in their head, and they're going to be going for a different approach this year. But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. I think both games are going to be really, really good, and I think it's still really unpredictable. I think no one can really call how it's going to go. It's one of those things where if you turn up on the day, you're going to be fine. If you don't, then it could cost you. You know, it's just one of them things, and that's the beauty and the worst bit about the cups. But it's all good fun.
I think MK, like last year, will just be hoping to get back to their home rink in the second leg with either a lead or whether that's a draw after the first leg, Charlie, because they know they can beat anyone at home. They've proved it the last couple of seasons. I know they've had the odd losses, but they are so good at home. So if they can get a draw from Romford, I think they'll take that back to Milton Keynes.
I agree, but I will say they're definitely not as strong at home as they were last year.
Mhm.
They've shown a lot more weakness at home this year. Swindon was a one-goal game. The game against Sheffield recently at home was a tough one, and they lost to Peterborough at home. Um, yeah, Sheffield was an overtime. So I don't know. I think MK. I remember we watched them in Romford. No penalty troubles. They've got to stay out of the box, and they can score against that Romford team. So yeah, they've just got to play it sensible. But I think MK will be confident knowing they've got the second leg at home. I think that's an important thing for MK in these cup ties. I don't know, but I think I'm correct here. If I, who finished on more points, MK or Sheffield?
MK. They
MK.
got that
So
overtime point at the weekend.
this is the thing I find interesting. Yeah, you're right. If if MK and Leeds go through, hypothetically, that's the only way MK can't get home advantage, which I think is big for them. I think MK like that second leg home advantage. Um, just a
But then
rant.
Leeds like having the home leg second now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think for Leeds, we've seen it in the league. They can just pump anyone if they want to, if they're on it on that day. And if they can get a 3-4 goal lead in that home leg, Dan, well, you'd back them to be able to get that over the line on the away leg in Sheffield. I think that's the approach they'll probably go for. Just on home ice, just absolutely go for it because the second one is actually the day before New Year's Day, so that's New Year's Eve, and it's at 1 o'clock. So, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that first game is the most important for both teams. It's sort of the team that's at home is going to be going all out to try and get that lead, and the team that's away is just going to be trying to go and get that lead, but also try and keep it within distance if they needed to. Obviously, get the comeback at home, and you saw it last year, like we said with MKV Hull. Hull really went for it in that home game, and I watched a stream and you could tell they were really going for it, but MK just kept it within that distance, and obviously it worked out for them when they brought it back home. So yeah, it's just gonna be a game like that really, and it's gonna be so important for both teams that first game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to see if I can get to all four because they're in the midweek. So that'll be good. Get some coverage of that. This weekend, then, we had 11 games, two games on the Friday, four on the Saturday, and five on the Sunday. And there were some very interesting results, especially on the Sunday, which we'll get to. But we'll start on the Friday. And the first game, it's our game against Bristol Pitbulls. We did win 6-4, and it was probably one of the most bonkers 5 minutes, Charlie, or 6 minutes I've seen in a hockey game. We scored 23 seconds in, Bally, getting the monkey off the back. He's been needing a goal. I don't think he's scored for quite a few weeks. He gets shoved on top line back with Malas and Nell, and it only took him 23 seconds.
Yeah. Um, what was the goal? Was it a tap in?
It
Yeah.
was a scrappy goal, but that's all you need to try and get the monkey off the back.
Yeah, we were good in that first period against Bristol. Not so much defensively, but offensively we were really good. And we showed our depth scoring a lot in that game, which is really nice. We saw Joshua score, we saw Glenn Billings score, we saw Sam Bullas score.
Billing assisted Bulash, yeah.
Yeah. Just nice to see some depth scoring. I think it's important. And everyone in the lineup contributed that night, which was the matter of us getting the win, I think.
Yeah, Dan, it was 4-2 after 8 minutes. It was looking like it was going to be a basketball score, uh, but it did calm down after that. The second period, Reese Smethan with an absolute snipe, it's got to be said. And then Elliot Lewis with a snipe past Mar as well. And then it come to the third period, and Swindon, the last few weeks, have struggled to see out games. Against Leeds, we had the lead, we struggled to see it out, and we lost. Against Solway, we had the lead, we couldn't quite see it out, and we lost that one in the last seconds. So there was a bit of tension whether Swindon were going to be able to hold out. Bristol, a young team, energetic. They haven't necessarily got as much system as a lot of other teams, so you kind of don't know what to expect. But I thought we handled the third period really, really well, and we stopped them getting any real momentum.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's really tough because when you are leading in a game and then a team like Bristol, obviously, like you said, with a lot of energy and a lot of momentum behind them, sort of come back within one goal. It's really hard to manage that because you're sort of they're just going to keep going and going and going. And once they've got it within distance, they're always going to be believing that they can get another one. And this season, Bristol have been a team that have been doing that to a lot of teams. They've done it to Peterborough. They've done it obviously with Solway. They've got that last second goal, and they have it in their head that they can obviously do it now, and they're really going for it this year. And so yeah, Swindon had a really tough job at obviously trying to nullify anything that they sort of gave to try and get the offense going. And yeah, they did a really good job. Everyone sort of stood on their head. Um, I mean, there was a lot of pressure at times for both teams as well. I think both teams weathered out the storms, and yeah, sort of after that first period, it sort of all calmed down and everything sort of got a bit more normal again, and a bit more smooth plays, and just a bit more hockey was on the show.
Yeah, I think it was quite open that first 8 minutes, and obviously Reece Cochran had that scare. Luckily, I think he's all right, and I think he actually did ice on the Sunday. But I think at the time you got to be so careful if there's any pain in the neck. Like if you move and you move on the wrong part, you can paralyze yourself. That's how scary and real it can be. So they had to be so careful. It was about 15 minutes, I think he was down, or maybe even 20 minutes. They had to be so careful, but it did kill a bit of the momentum and the bit of like you could see they weren't quite fully going into hits as much as they were. But fair play for Bristol for coming back out. But I think Swindon did really well to shut it down, and Bally obviously got the nail in the coffin to make it 6-4. Rennie did actually save a penalty shot with like a minute and a half to go. But I think on a whole, Charlie, we deserved the win. And it was nice, obviously, after dropping it to Bristol at home before to get those 2 points. And if we didn't start the weekend off with 2 points, I think we could have seen a different kind of weekend.
Yeah, the Southwest stays red.
Well, it goes back to red because
It's always been red.
it
Let's not take the mick.
no,
Still have got better, but
Bristol did beat us the other week. You got to give him credit.
I don't remember that.
Charlie's just been stupid. Right. The other game on Friday was the Milton Keynes Lightning against the Steel Dogs. And it sounded like, again, up until that last 10 minutes of the game, it was 2-2. A couple power play goals for Sheffield. Tremblay carrying on his form from the CHL, getting that goal for the Steelers, but he scored twice in at MK. But in the end, Dan, another player with a monkey off his back, and that is Dylan Lawrence. He got the goal, the eventual game winner in the end. I think that's quite big for him because you can't ignore what's being said on Twitter. There's a lot of Milton Keynes fans wondering whether the import trio's right. But that's a big goal for Dylan Lawrence, and hopefully for him that's a bit of a confidence booster because he proved last season how deadly he can be, and obviously he had that injury. But him getting the game-winning goal, you got to feel happy for him there.
Yeah, 100%. We said it last week on the pod. We said that hockey is such a big mind game, and I think if you do have that playing on your mind that you're not performing to how you know you can, and also you got added pressure of the MK fans are obviously talking about the imports a lot. You've got the added pressure of you are an import as well, so a lot of people are looking at you for points, and I think can all just weigh down on you a bit. And I think yeah, getting that goal from him is going to be really big, and hopefully, like you say, he can really build his confidence up and sort of he can start going into games now, sort of not looking for that goal and just sort of letting the goals come. And
Yeah,
I think when you get into a stage of the pressure obviously weighing down on you, is you try and force it too much.
yeah.
And I think if you just let it come and just let it work its way through to the net, I think that's the best way you can look at it. And I think he'll be looking at that in more games to come.
Yeah, I agree. I expect him to probably go on a run in the next few weeks. It could be the semi-final, who knows? I know he got a couple big goals last year. And then to finish off the game, again, that Max Stewart County partnership, them two both getting goals, they're assisting each other as well. It seems like they've really found their spark this season, and County's he had quite a slow start maybe for what people had expectations wise, but he is absolutely smashing it at the moment. And Max Stewart, I think I had him as my ones to watch. He is doing well at the moment, so it's a big win for Milton Keynes. It's the game after Charlie they lost to Peterborough at home as well. So we did wonder would that cause a bit of a unsettlement, but they did get the job done. And again, as you said, will they put on another streak maybe?
I don't know, but yeah, I think it was a must win game. But yeah, it was a must win game for MK. They got the win. But I think it was probably a bit closer than they probably would have liked.
Yeah, I agree. But it was close last time they played Sheffield as well. I think that went all the way to penalty shots. The first game on Saturday, then the early game. Telford Tigers. Wow, they are absolutely rolling at the moment. And the new imports are absolutely smashing it. They beat the Romford Raiders in Romford, which we know has been a very difficult place. Romford's second loss of the season at home. Obviously they lost to Leeds very narrowly early on. And Char I'll come to you, Dan, actually. Um, the imports, man. Obviously, we said a while ago, Tommy Watkins will probably make that harsh, tough decision of bringing some new ones in, but it's paid off. Eric Henderson with a hat trick, David Thompson with a couple, and then a couple assists as well, and then you got Harry Ferguson who's having a blinder of a season. He's found the right kind of players to suit his play style. 6-3 against Romford. That's a brilliant result for them.
Yeah, 100%. We said that that could just ignite that spark, getting these imports in, and now they've got comfortable, and now they've got settled in. They're really showing what they can do. Sort of bringing them in together as well. I think that's really big. I think that really helped them both settle in together, and they know each other play. And I know Charlie really rates Ferguson. Slotting him in between two imports, you're only going to get good results
Yeah.
because the guy works every game. He works his ass off every game. He's going to put in a shift every single time he's out there on the ice. He's obviously been in the elite league for a reason. That's what they love from their Brits in the elite league, and yeah, I think he's just thriving being with those imports, and those imports are both loving their hockey right now.
Yeah, Harry Ferguson, 25 points in 21 games. He got a short-handed goal at the end as well. A tough one for Romford. I think they were going to go for a stage where they're going to have a tough couple results, but Telford, 4 games on the spin now, obviously including Sundays as well in a row. They've really picked up some form back in the playoff spots where we said they would get to, Charlie. And yeah, it's a massive win for them. I think teams will now come into that Telford game, and it will be a very tough game to come into every time you play them now.
Yeah, they set the tone on Sunday night. We'll go on to that, but
Yeah.
they
We'll go,
they set that they're back on Sunday night.
Yeah. The Wildcats against the Peterborough Phantoms then. Our second game of the weekend. Obviously, we've been really good at home as well, as have a lot of teams. But yeah, again, I was saying to quite a few people, imagine what the odds would have been if you'd have said it would be 4-2 after the first period in both of our games. And that's exactly what it was. And it all come from Dan. It started with the short-handed goal from Luke Johnson. And what a snipe it was in that top corner. And I'm watching it back as well. There wasn't much space whatsoever, and he hit the bottle as well. And when you hit the bottle shot, you know you've just sniped it.
Yeah, 100%. It's such a big momentum shift when you can get that short-handed goal because you're running low on energy anyway, and sort of getting that boost from a goal short-handed is so big for the team, and it sort of puts obviously the other team you're against on the back foot, and it's a bit of a dagger after that. And yeah, it was a really nice finish and a really well taken goal, and he just used his speed and his momentum like we saw Josh Shaw do against Hull. Just used it really well, and yeah, finished it off very nicely.
And then it was the special teams again, another couple power play goals. Malazinski with a very, very nice goal, faking the pass, that coming round, putting it top corner. And Reed Sayers getting another goal on the power play. He seems to be getting a lot on that PP2, which is really good. But Charlie, as the game went on, that second period I think was one of the most dominant periods I've seen the Wildcats have. And yes, Peterborough had an off night. I do understand that. They didn't play very well. I think it wasn't just a couple players. The whole team just was not clicking whatsoever. It was a bad night at the office. Levine got pulled as well at 6 goals, and I think that was the right decision. Obviously, looking at Sunday, it was definitely the right decision. But 8 different goal scorers, just an all-rounded performance from the Cats, and just showing how deadly we can be at home.
Yeah, yeah. Again, depth scoring is so important for Swindon, especially. We relied on our top line for a couple of weeks of Britnell, Billing, and Malas, but now we're not, and that's important. And so yeah, it was a good performance from us. I thought Peterborough were really flat. They didn't really come out of block their first gear, but we made them pay for that. We didn't let them get away with that. We made sure that we showed them you need to get out of first gear, otherwise we're going to obliterate you every time. And they did show a response the next night. But yeah, it was a really good performance from Swindon, and it was needed. I think we needed some confidence thrown through all the lines, and we had quite a few different goal scorers that game, and yeah, it's just a good all round game. It was quite enjoyable. But then I don't know about you fans. This is an interesting one. I hate games where they're done halfway through.
Yeah.
It was the 27th minute, and their backup was already in the net. The game's over then. It's just a skill show. Don't get me wrong, there's lots of goals and it's quite nice to see the goals go in, but I really do like them tense last minute games where there's a minute to go and the goalie's getting pulled. But yeah, it was one of them ones where once the 27-minute hit, you kind of just started chatting to your mates and having a good time.
Yeah, I think you're always going to have those games in the season, though. I think, as we keep saying, as Sunday proved, that it's not going to be like that with Peterborough. Like, it was a one-off game for them. Shout out Sam Bullas. I thought his goal just pure. That just sums up Sam Bullas in a nutshell. The puck gets put forward, and he just absolutely wrecking balls through to, I think it was Mitchell King and Buglas, and they're not the smallest of lads either. And he just absolutely barges through him, backhand past Levine. So yeah, it was just a really good all-round performance. And you're right, that third period was pretty dead. You're 8-2 up. You get a ninth early on, but I think we were just setting ourselves up ready for the bees because 3 game weekends it does take a lot out of you. So it was a big performance. Anything else to add on that? I don't think there's too much. It was just I think Swindon were dominant and Peterborough just weren't at the races, Dan.
Yeah, it's just one of them nights. Just like you say, every team has them. and Swindon's always a tough place to go anyway. And I think it's something that Swindon needed because their home games recently have been a bit on the ropes,
Yeah.
and I think they just needed that good big win just to sort of get everyone back on board at home.
Yeah. Charlie, you're not going to like this next one then. Leeds versus Bees. I don't like to say this, but I think Bees did just stick the red flag up. Obviously, we know Leeds is probably one of the hardest places to go to. They're one of the best teams. The Bees did put out Dean Skins. No offense to Dean Skins. He was. We were actually speaking on Saturday. He was a great goalie in his younger years, but he has got on a bit now, Dan. And fair play for him to step in. And the Leeds did beat him 8-2. Kieran Brown getting another hat trick. Finn Braden getting a couple. Matt Barron just farming on the assists. I think he got 5 assists on the night. The Bees did get a couple goals, but again, like you said, Charlie, it was one of them where the Knights did just comfortably get the job done, and they won 8-2 in the end. And I think, Dan, I don't know if Charlie's lagged out. I think they did just wave the red flag a bit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they turned up with what, like seven forwards.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not an easy time for bees right now, and I think yeah, going to Leeds at this time is sort of yeah, it's just sort of really tough on them. And like we said, fair play to Dean Skins. He's still a guy that loves his hockey, still a guy that will turn his hand to anyone and will always step in when needed. Like when he went to obviously Bristol last year or a year before, maybe. Obviously bees as well. It's just yeah, it's one of them ones, and I mean, 8-2 in Leeds away with seven forwards isn't too bad.
yeah. I did get a couple people talk to. We'll talk about the game on the Sunday, but is it right that bees have to just not forfeit, but throw the red flag against a team? Obviously, they didn't play their best goalkeeper, Max Wright. We've seen why because of the amount of shots he faced on the Sunday as well. But I don't know. There's a
Yeah,
bit
it
of
was
me.
exactly the right decision to make. It got proven on the Sunday.
No, it is. No, it is. My point is that right though? Because
Yeah, I think it is. I do think it is.
should
The
it
reason
get no?
I'm
But no.
saying,
My point is, you can debate, you can argue all you want. Is it right that a team is just throwing a game? Yeah, they are. They have just thrown the game. Like, and it's not. And maybe it's not fair that they haven't got the players. I'm not blaming them at all. But for me, there's a bit of me which that doesn't really sit right because you do want to be competitive or try to be competitive in the game.
The
I've said it for so many weeks. I don't like it where there's teams which aren't competitive in games. That's why we've been so happy that Bristol have been competitive in games because it makes our league better. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm playing
the
devil's advocate, but I
the,
think it's a valid point.
the way that I look at it is they're going to Leeds, and if they're starting right, yeah,
it's
they're
just a
sort of that's going to be a load of shots, and then they bring it back home and get Swindon another load of shots. Are they going to risk losing every point that they can have that weekend instead of coming back home with their starting goalie fresh? And you know what they can do on their home ice, feeling more comfortable, and obviously it worked out. Are they going to risk losing all their points that weekend, or going into Leeds sort of pushing the game to one side and just focusing on that home game with their starting goalie and
No,
goal?
I completely get that. But I'm just saying, is it right that they're going? It's not right that they're going to Leeds with seven forwards. Like a team in the National should not be going, and maybe it's not their fault. I'm not blaming Bees at all, but I don't think it's right that they're going to an away game with seven forwards
But
and
I will
five
say one
D men.
thing: a team who take away the fact they had five D men and seven forward, they do need more. Even if they had a full strength team, I don't blame them if they start their backup in Leeds that weekend. I'm sorry, if I was a bottom end
No,
team who's
I'd
just
do it
struggled
as
to get up,
well. I'd do
yeah,
it as
but
well. I'm just
that
playing
that
devil's advocate.
that weekend, there's one game they want to get points out of. They don't need points out of Leeds away. They don't. You're not going to do it.
No,
Like
I
for a
completely
bottom
get
end
that.
team, like
You
there is
got to be able to see my point though. As just a National League fan, it's not nice to see a team just go and throw the red flag. Do you get that side of it?
I think there's other teams who would do it as well, though. If I was Bristol, I'd
No, I
potentially,
get that.
if I was Bristol and I had the same weekend, I'd debate putting Napier on the bench for the Saturday and playing them on the Sunday
No,
at
I
home.
completely get that. I agree with you. And as I said, it's probably not the Bees' fault that they only have 12 players. But all of our reactions, our first reactions when we saw that Bees literally had 12 players going up to play Leeds, it's like, oh, like that's just not fair, is it? Like, and
But
that's where I'm
that's what happens
saying
in the league
there
where
is an element of there is the top teams and there are a few teams which are struggling. Like
yeah,
it
that's the
shouldn't be
element
the
of a league
point
where
where Bees only have 12 players.
the budget is very different.
Exactly, and
The
that's
team
where
is
I'm
very
saying I don't
different,
know if that's
and
right, and
that's
that's
where
not the Bees' fault. That's not the
no,
Bees'
no, but
fault at all.
that's where you do have to find the balance because realistically, with the amount of fans bees get through the door, they're doing all right competitively this year. They are the lowest attended team, and it's difficult being that team because you're naturally going to have a smaller budget. You rely on local players, and we'll go on to the Sunday game. There were some really good local players in that game who won them that game, but it's a difficult one. Of course, in an ideal world, you want them to be competitive in Leeds away. But in a league where you've got some stadiums with 2,000 fans every week and some stadiums which struggle to hit 500, it can't happen.
No, I agree, and I'd do the exact same if I was in
It's a
goodbyes
good
and
coaching
take.
decision.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
I'd do the
very good
exact
coaching
same, but
decision.
I'm just saying that I hope people who are listening understand. I'm just saying from as a whole, and I've bet even Bees players would say it, it's not right that they've only got 7 players in the team, and that might not be their fault whatsoever. So yeah, I think we're all agreeing on the same thing. I'm just throwing up another little bit. But yeah, we've gone on for that a bit too long. Sorry about that. Right, the next game was an absolute cracker. And it was the Solway Sharks against the Bristol Pitbulls. And Dan, it just proved what you said and what we've all been saying again and again. The Solway Sharks going 3-0 up. And the Pitbulls could have called it there. They could have gone, right, okay, 3-0 down, away. But no, they battled back into it. And it was Nick Price again. Oh my days, just popping up with another couple goals. And he got it back to 3-2. And then Ewan Hill with a really nice goal to make it 3-3. And even with a late blow, Alderson getting a goal with just 8 minutes to go, they get a goal with less than a minute, and I think that they get a point. They come back home to Bristol with a point. I think that just sums up again Bristol in a nutshell.
Yeah, 100%. Last year, no way would that have happened. No way. Like with 3-0, like you said, that could have been that would have been even more. Like they all the Bristol fans can agree as well. This season is a totally different mindset for the whole team. You've got these players here that want to play for their name. They want to play for the badge. They're putting everything out there on the ice. Everyone's really, really bonding together now really well. You can really see the players like Price and Harewood really linking up well. You got Smetham that's growing up really well. You got Ewan Hill that's really doing well. You've got Butler who's having a really good season as well. Every player is just playing really, really good. And I think this is exactly what Bristol want. This is exactly what they needed. They needed a season like this where they can show to their fans that they're not going to give up on them. They're not going to give up on these games. And even if they do lose these games, they're not going to lose them without trying to win them. And
Yeah,
I think this is a massive statement for Bristol. I think the fans are loving it. The fans are looking so much more happy. When you talk to fans, they're sort of loving hockey. They're loving their team. They're loving what they've got out on the ice. And I think if you want to grow a team, I think this is the best way to go about it.
yeah. Fair play to Barry McKenzie, but the Sharks did get the winning goal, and it has to be said. Don't know if you've seen it, Charlie. Backhand, Nolan Gardiner. It was a brilliant goal. Skating past the Bristol player. Yeah, it's a really nice goal. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. And Solway get the 2 points, which is a big 2 points for them as well. It just keeps them in the hunt. And as we'll see in the games
They've
on
got some good games
Sunday,
in hand, so
they backed it up as well. That was the final game on the Saturday. Now the Sunday started with the early game in Sheffield, and it was another cracker. There was a lot of crackers this weekend. The Sheffield Steel Dogs winning in overtime 4-3, but it was another late goal, Charlie. We thought that Sheffield had won it 3-2. Tremblay with another power play goal. He seems to be able to get those power play goals a lot this season. At 58-11. But your boy, TJ Anderson, getting the equalising goal to get them a point this weekend. I think it would have been very tough if they didn't get a point, but they do come away with a point, even though they did lose in overtime. Yeah, it sounds like TJ had a pretty good game, Charlie.
Yeah, he's one of the best talents in this league. TJ Anderson's very, very good, and yeah, I'm glad he got the goals because he hasn't had too many this year, but two popped in at two important times to get them back in the game. And yeah, Romford have got that gut in them as well. They're another one of them teams which just doesn't seem to give up until the final whistle's gone.
Yeah. But Dan, Sam Tremblay's having himself a time at the moment. 14 seconds in, and it's got to be said it was nasty, wasn't it? Those players, even though hockey is played at such a fast pace, he just slowed it down. He didn't rush. Forehand to the backhand when he was stood still and just lifted it into that top corner. And I think it just shows the talent he's got, and maybe he is a bit too good for this league.
Yeah, this is where you can see this point of the season. This is where you can really see how good these imports have got. Like you can see now, all these imports are really getting settled into their teams. They're really getting settled in how the league plays. I'm pretty sure everyone's played everyone now, so everyone's going to know how each other plays. And yeah, you can really see the quality. Obviously, the quality of imports that they've got in Sheffield. You can really see you've got Sommer, who's had a very good season so far. Tremblay's really coming into his own. Hal Forwards, you didn't expect him to be on the score sheet a load, but he's really grown well. He's grown well in Sheffield, and yeah, it's a scary time for teams because these imports are very good, and the players around them are just thriving off it. You can see it in Telford, and obviously Sheffield are a team that are going to be looking at their imports a lot, and obviously going for it every game to really build the Brits around them as well.
Yeah, big win for Sheffield, and another home win as well, making it tough at their own place. Charlie, speaking of another import, who's got himself up to the top goal scorer in the league, Cam Huff, and wow, that is just light and night and day for Peterborough Phantoms. 6-4 win over the Leeds Knights at home. Cam Huff getting a hat trick, 21 goals this season. And we've watched the highlights back, and it just shows like I think it was definitely the right decision to just pull Levine on that Saturday at 6-2 because on Sunday he was so locked in, and the goals which he did concede, I actually thought you ain't stopping them there. It's just Kieran Brown specials, isn't it? But it just shows like things can just switch. And Peterborough, I'm sure Slava said to him they need to get something tomorrow because that Saturday performance was not good enough. And they beat the league champions.
Yeah, I think I remember someone. I may have been Ben Callahan who said he thought Levine pulled himself actually. So that would have been interesting. Maybe Levine just kind of knew it wasn't his day. But yeah, I think Phantoms are one of them teams where well we know they're good at cup competitions slash playoffs etc. And they're one of them teams where when everything goes right, it goes really right, and it did on that Peterborough game. And yeah, I think Slava has absolutely aced it with that import signing of Huff. He's great. He's really good. If you haven't watched the highlights, do there was one play where Norton kept it in the zone. Have you seen that one, Dan?
No, I haven't seen the
Oh,
highlights yet. I
it's
normally
really
look at
good.
all of them
Norton
soon.
manages to keep the puck in zone when Barron tries to pinch. I think he puts it back door. I think that's to Huff. But yeah, it was a really good performance from Peterborough. From the stream, watch the highlights. But yeah, Huff is looking like the real deal for an import. He's quick. He's got a good two-way game. He's very skillful, and he just knows how to find the back of the net. So yeah, it's a weird season for Peterborough because they have these down results, but then they beat Leeds. They've probably nearly beat every team in the league now,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. They beat all the top teams anyway. I think I don't know if they beat Sheffield, but I know that no, I don't think they beat Sheffield, but they beat Swindon, Hull, Leeds, and MK. So they seem to be able to beat the top teams. But yeah, I think they're just preparing for playoffs.
Just preparing for the playoffs as they always do. Brown scored three. Just Kieran Brown goals. Two of the slap shots are just if you didn't know who scored them and you just watched it and you didn't know the player, it's just a Kieran Brown goal in a nutshell. So he tried his hardest but couldn't quite get the Knights back on it. Three power play goals. And Luke Ferrara, Dan, another penalty shot against Sam Gospel. Luke Ferrara is so clutch, man. He is so clutch. Um, Brown probably took our comment my comment last week about Luke Ferrara being the most clutch player in the league, but just yeah, it's just I love those games. I love them. Just the top players from each team just going at it.
Yeah, he's one of them guys that sort of thrive off those clutch
Oh,
opportunities, and you saw it in Coventry, probably one of the biggest stages in like the National League, sort of in front of everyone, and he just goes and wins it for them. Then you obviously against Leeds, obviously a big game again. There's no pressure, just puts it home. They're the guys that you can rely putting everything on them, and they won't be affected by it. Slava obviously knows exactly what he's got in Ferrara. He's no stranger to Peterborough, and yeah, he's one of them guys that will just put a team on his back, and he's a perfect player that you want in that Peterborough team. And the imports again that you've got around him, it's just going to make him better. And yeah, I think everyone just works around Ferrara.
Yeah, it's a big win for Peterborough. They needed that, and I think we all said on Saturday that's not what Peterborough are like. Peterborough they can have those games, but on the Sunday it just proved it, and that's a massive win for them. The other another game on the Sunday, the whole Seahawks just one game this weekend and it was a tough one. We spoke at the start of the podcast. Obviously, they're going through a bit of a rut at the moment and a few tough results. And they lose out to the Solway Sharks, and that's a massive 4 point weekend. We'll start with them. I can hear Charlie's just come back. Liam Stenton, Charlie. Um, you said before the season that he's definitely one talent to really watch out for. Obviously, captain in Solway at just 22. He's had that couple stints in the Elite League, but three goals across the weekend, two against Hull, including the game-winning goal as well. He has really come on this season.
yeah, Liam Stanton's been huge for them. He's bringing in a lot of offense from D. And yeah, he's playing like a captain. He's stepped up his game since he's been given captain. Alderson was really, really good. He's had another good weekend. He is bobbing away with them dance moves in warm up. And then what's the young lad's name? 24.
24? You mean Torren Anderson?
Yeah, he's 24, isn't he?
He's
Yeah.
not. He's 21, mate.
Same thing, just a cross in the middle. But yeah, Torren Anderson was really, really big on that Sunday win. I think he got two goals or one goal or something like that. But yeah, they had a really good weekend, Solway, an underrated one. And games in hand when you're a lower end team, always you never really know what the result's going to be, but they have got games in hand on Telford. They'll be feeling pretty confident about themselves. They're on a decent vein of form. And so yeah, I think Solway had a massive weekend for them. Massive.
Yeah,
Absolutely massive.
it was a very good weekend for them, and back-to-back home losses now for Hull. Obviously, Matty spoke out in his interviews. It's not good enough for them, and they are missing some pieces, and it's not quite clicking at the moment. But it's so, as we said last week, Dan. It's so annoying only having one game in it because you just want to be able to bounce back and get those wins in, and they've only got one this weekend as well, and that's against Swindon. And I'm hoping that's not going to be easy either for them. I hope we can obviously get a result. So yeah, Sobchak getting 4 points, so he keeps himself at the top of the point scoring. What do you think the main thing has been, Dan, on why they've struggled a bit recently and why the results haven't been quite going their way?
I think it's just obviously we know that they're getting a bit short in D again. You see what that can do to a team. Um, I think I think McLaughlin's had a bit of a tough few weekends. I think he started a few of the games and he's not finished them. I think he knows he can do better, and everyone knows he can do better. And I think as a goalie, again, it's a mind game. I think you just need to get that win. You just need to get that confidence back. Um, and it's really, like you say, it's really hard to do it when you've got those just one game weekends. It's really hard to gain anything if you lose that. You've got to wait a whole another week to try and sort of rectify it. I think it's just sort of in the whole team morale. I think it's just sort of everyone in that team is feeling a bit of the pressure. Obviously, like Charlie said at the start, they've got a lot of high expectations, and they've got a lot of players in that team that do have a lot of high expectations of themselves and the team that they're on. And I think when they are sort of going through a slump, I think it's hard to sort of get out of it.
It has to be said, I think Jordan Meyer had a really good game. Hull had 49 shots on the night, so they weren't short of having chances, but yeah, just I think conceding a bit too many goals, and they'll be hoping to keep the score low against Swindon. I think that will be their big aim, and obviously trying to get the win as well. On to this game, Charlie, which you wanted to talk about, and it just sums up the improvements that Telford have made the last few weeks. David Thompson and Eric Henderson on the score sheet again. They were losing 2-1 to Milton Keynes right up until the 52nd minute, where Finn Howes got the equalising goal, and then it was Eric Henderson with the overtime winner, and of course it was assisted by Thompson to beat the Lightning. And again, it's so when they make changes, like you could see the influence it has just on the whole team as well. Because it's not just I know the imports are getting the goals, but it just switches the whole team mentality. We were saying a massive part is them conceding a lot too many goals. They've only conceded five goals this weekend, and they were conceding that every game a few weeks ago.
Wow, yeah, just bringing in two fresh faces into the dressing room who have come in and kind of hit it after the first weekend. It just breeds that confidence into the team. Winning breeds confidence. It just does. And we know what Talford are like. When they play in their own ring, I can already predict what happened in that game. They give 100% till the end. Their third line four checks hard. Their second line four checks hard. Their first line four checks hard. And so Talford put in a really good performance. And obviously, imports are the key players at the moment. Them two seem to be picking up a lot of the points, but good to see Finn Howes picking up a big goal for them. And yeah, it was been a tough game for MK, but you know Talford are back when they're beating MK in their own rink. They do it every year. They find a way to beat MK and Talford. So I'm sure the fans would have enjoyed that one. But on the MK side, they got a point. I know it's a frustrating point. It's obviously not the most ideal, but at least they got a point. I'd much rather lose in overtime than lose in regulation. Getting that 1 point is so big, man. It is big in the title race. And then it's easy to talk about it now, but making sure that you're not getting battered in games, you're staying in games, just picking up a point, picking up some overtime wins is massive for them. So it's a big point for MK. As much as they would have liked to, but for Talford, they've got the train rolling now, and I don't think anyone wants to play them anymore.
Yeah, it's got to be said as well. Brad Day, flipping fair play to him. He has really, really picked up the form. He had a really tough start to the season, it has to be said, and he'll agree as well. But 37 shots that he had on him on the Saturday, he saved 34 of them. And then on the Sunday, MK had 34 shots, he saved 32. So it's just a funny old game in it, hockey, Dan. As you said, it is mentality wise and just the whole team buying in and coming together, and it's produced the results. They've won the last four. They've had back-to-back 4 point weekends.
Yeah, 100%. This obviously Brad Day's a good goalie. We know what he can do. We know he can obviously turn up in these big games, but it's all on the team in front of him as well. I think if the team in front of him aren't confident, obviously they're the ones that are having to score the goals. They're the ones that have got the pressure on them to score the goals, and I think now they're getting these wins, and they are just sort of more relaxed, and they can sort of stop trying to force these goals. And again, like I said, obviously they can, like I said about the Lawrence thing, they're not forcing things now. They're sort of playing their own game. They're playing at their own speed. They can just sort of, they can just play the game their own way now. They don't have to be rushing things. They don't have to be trying new things. I mean, you've got Thompson literally doing it between the legs every game. Like, yeah, it's no more relaxed than that. You know what I mean? He's just playing his game, and I mean that's if these imports are playing their game, I think they can carry on playing their game for the rest of the year if all Telford fans want.
Yeah. It puts them in back in that playoff spot, and I think they're quite a few ahead as well. The final game of the weekend, then, Swindon's third game of the weekend, and this game is all about Max Wright. There is some other players as well, which we'll mention, who had really good games for the Bees. Obviously, I say that they waved the red flag. Well, they kind of did on the Saturday. But on the Sunday, as you said, Charlie, this was the game where they're just going to lock in. They know that they've got that home advantage over Swindon on that small ice rink. And I'll be honest, at 2-0, we scored two quick goals a minute after each other. I thought we're going to go on, we're gonna get the game back, but they scored that power play goal and then another one quick after to make it 2-2, and then it was just the Max Wright show, Charlie. 59 saves out of 61, 59 flipping saves. And in that final 10 minutes, they weren't just your average shots from the blue line, shots which you're going to see. Some of those saves in the last 5 minutes when we were on top, he has proved to be one of the best, if not the best goalie in this league.
It was a good performance from Bees. It was exactly what they needed to do. They have to obviously play with a bit of luck on their side. You've got to get the putt luck at times. We did dominate them for periods of play. That's not to be said. I don't know if there has been a game this year where there's been 61 shots, but the game where there was 61 shots, the opposition won. No, I'm not making excuses, but I think you could definitely see the legs from Swindon after in a 3-game weekend. We're not a young team; we're an older team, and you could see the legs coming in. But Bees played to their advantage. They only had 7-4. They had 7 forwards, 6D. Their forwards look knackered. I've never seen Will Stead skate so much. That guy must. Meanwhile, oh mate, I dread to think how he felt on Monday morning because his legs must have been cooked. Because they skated their ass off, to be fair, and they're not a young team. People forget that. But Gabai and Ballas, I think, are 30 plus, I believe.
Yeah.
Gabai's 31 and Balaz is 35.
Like they're not
36.
they're not young boys, and they were playing 30 minutes plus that night. And yeah, you signed an import goalie for that reason. And I've said this before. I still don't know where I stand on import goalies. I'll be 100% honest. But a lower end team with a small budget, it makes sense to get an import goalie.
Yeah.
He stole them that game. Their team played well. Will Stead was a standout for me. Their top line was every player on that Bees team worked their ass off. There's no denying that. Even Toombs, he looked good in that game.
Yeah, for
He
one of
played
his first
well.
games.
Yeah, he played really well. But to make 59 out of 61 saves is disgusting. Adding on 64 saves. He saved all 5 penalty shots, and they won't crap penalty shots either. They did make him move. It was disgusting. Like, I came away from that game just thinking, I don't know if we could have done much more. He
Well,
did
your
rob
boy
us.
did miss an open goal.
Salah did miss a bit
Balas,
of a
it was
chance he was
quite
taking there.
quick,
But
but
that's what I mean by luck.
yeah.
Bees have to play into their luck in a game like that. We probably should have been a bit more clinical, but I'm going to give the credit to Max Wright.
Oh, after the game, I said if they take it to overtime, they've got more than a chance of winning this game. I actually think the odds are probably in their favour because of how well Max Wright was playing. I actually thought Rennie played quite well as well. The shots which he did have and the couple breakaways which they got, he saved quite well. So yeah, Max Wright, and I'm gonna just echo what you said, Charlie. I saw a couple people say it's not right with import goalies. I completely get that, but there isn't a brick goalie available which
No,
puts on a show like that and steals that game. And it's not just been that game, Dan, has it? They Max Wright won it for them against Leeds. I don't know if he's faced less than 40 shots in a game this season. He is the top save percentage in the league. I know Harrison Walker is technically, but a starting goalie, he's the top save percentage in the league. He's saved the most shots in the league. I do dread to think what this season could have been if they had a brick goalie, because it, because of how hard it is for them as a smaller team to be able to get those Brits out on the ice. Do you know what I mean? So I do think if they didn't have him, it could be even worse this season.
Yeah, 100%. Import goalies do win you games. I've always said with import goalies, I'm quite strong on having import goalies in the league. I think a lot of fans don't like it, but I mean, I'm all for it. I think it just brings a whole new competitiveness to the league. And well, like we've been saying, import goalies, he was unreal on Sunday. The team, I think the first line of bees was it always looked dangerous. They always looked like they were going to create something. And Vanya never seems to get tired. Vanya Antonov's a big guy in that team. He's not been had the most availability the past few years, but this year they seem to have got him locked in for pretty much every game. So he's going to be a big guy for that team. He never seems to give up. And when you're in a team like that that do struggle with obviously numbers and stuff like that, you want guys that are just going to give everything when they're out there. Same as Wilstead, like Charlie said, he didn't give up on a play, always getting into the corners, always put 100% in. You've obviously got players like Morris who's out at the minute. Having him come back, that'll be big. He's another guy that will put everything out there on the ice. And I mean, when they look at Wright, they're going to be playing for him, and they're going to be playing all for your goalie. And yeah, goalie can steal your games, and
Yeah,
he's
shout
proven
out
it.
Josh Kelly. Mog, he must have logged over 30 minutes. Marcus Mitchell, that was one of the best games I've seen him play. That was the perfect Marcus Mitchell game. Just defend around the crease. He's massive. Like he just blocks shots. And I think it suited him. And I just want to shout out Wilstead. 18 games, 13 points, but 10 of those have been goals. Bees have needed a player to step up this season to get goals so they're not just relying on Balaz and Gabai. 10 goals this season, and he scored the winning penalty shot as well. We're really seeing how talented Will Stead is. So fair play to him, and obviously we've had him on the podcast as well. Really nice guy. But I said after the game, 5 out of 6 points. I said before the weekend, I think minimum we needed to get was 5 out of 6. If we can get 6 out of 6, that would be great. And I thought the boys tried, the Cats tried hard every single game. I couldn't fault any of them really across the weekend. And I know they'll be gutted we didn't get that win on the Sunday. But when Max Wright plays like that, yeah, it's just that you have to just clap. You have to just say fair play. And the Bees get an important 2 points. I think they were on a 7 loss streak actually, so that was a massive win for the Bees. And I really am hoping they can get a couple bodies back because if they can put performances like that in away games as well, where they give themselves a chance, if they've got Max Wright in goal, they've got more than a chance. So yeah, I think they've got a big weekend next weekend against Bristol as well. So that'll be a big battle. But that is all the games. Anything else to add before we quickly look at the standings?
Shout out to the Wells
Oh
family.
yeah, shout out to Wellesley's family.
Yeah,
Go on, Charlie.
The Wells family, legend. We got to take him to the hockey games. Chat took him to one. I took him to one. If you do meet any import families or whatever, make them feel at home. I had a good time. Me and Tim, unbeaten pool partners. But yeah, no, it was a really good time hanging out with them. Them amazing Canadians, Toronto Canadians.
Yeah, shout out
Um,
Helen, Tim, Tyler as well. We're hoping that they can come back over to Swindon to watch Ryan again. And yeah, Ryan had a really good weekend, as he does every weekend. He
And he
put
got a goal. He got
and
a
he
goal as
did get
well.
it might have come off Mitchell's ass,
No,
but it
no,
counts.
it's a goal. It's a goal.
but yeah, no, it's good hanging out with them. And now I'm enjoying the hockey this year. I'm not going to quite as many games, but enjoying the hockey. It's a lot of fun, enjoyable, fun league. Um, yeah, this weekend I'm going to Sheffield, not Hull, with Dan and Dad. Jack's obviously going to both Swindon games, so yeah,
Yeah.
exciting.
Oh,
And I did want to say congratulations to Sheffield. We didn't really mention it as much, but it is actually very big for them to make that cup semi
Yeah.
final, which maybe I wouldn't have put them down to do at the start of the year. Fair play to them, like their
Yeah.
new era, making that cup semi final. You can't argue with that.
Yeah, they did really well in their cup games actually. The ones which they really needed to win, they won. So fair play to them. They did get that cup spot. And Romford as well. I think we gave them a lot of credit in the last episode, but credit to Sheffield. And I can't wait for these semi-finals. I got to say, I hope Romford do it. I hope they go all the way. I've always said if Swindon aren't in it, I want an underdog story, and if Romford can go and win it all the way, that would be unbelievable. But because I'm probably going to go to all the games. I just want to see four competitive games, four competitive semi-finals. Looking at the table, Leeds are top by 1 point, just 1 point in front of Milton Keynes. And as you said, Charlie, those points they do matter. That is a big overtime point for Milton Keynes. I know they'll be a bit disappointed, but it's proven Peterborough beating Leeds. Like Leeds can drop points this season. They've dropped a few more than they did this time last season, Dan. I think went on a massive streak at the start of the season. And then at the bottom, it is really tight as well, actually. Bees on 12, Bristol on 14, Solway on 15. They do have two games in hand, and then Telford on 17. So, yeah, Solway actually have three games in hand on Telford. So the National League is as competitive as ever. And Hull are on 22 in seventh, whilst Sheffield are on 24 in third. So it is all to play for, and this has been one of my favourite seasons, I think, for the National League as a whole. Do you agree, Dan? Just the level of
Mm.
competitiveness.
Yeah, 100%. That's all you want from this, and yeah, it's a really good way that British ice hockey's going. I think it's really growing
Oh,
really well. The fan bases are growing a lot. I think we're always going in the right direction.
yeah, that was one last thing. I'll quickly shout out. There's a few National League boys who made the GB under 20s team. So they'll be going over to Croatia from January, which means the National League teams won't actually have these guys for a weekend. But Tyler LaBouche, Ollie Nags, Archie Salisbury, Billy Thorpe, Jacob Whitesay, Torrin Anderson, Finley Braden, Owen Bruton, Carl Carruth, Dylan Lipsey, Seb Moore, and Josh Shaw all making the team. So hopefully they can pull out the stocks. I know we struggled just to get over that final hurdle every single year. But yeah, it's a talented bunch in the National League, and a lot of them are starters as well, Charlie. A lot of them are getting good minutes in our league, and they've had a lot of experience.
Mhm.
Right, I think we should wrap it up there. What do you reckon? Anything else to add? No, I think Charlie's shattered. But yeah, we'll catch you in the next one, and hopefully we'll get a couple of players on as well. Peace.